This is Morning Juice. Sports, insight, and great storytelling. Starring Bobby Carpenter and Jeff Tito Thidoff. It's time to attack and dominate.
Good morning, Juicers. Tito, Bobby Carpenter, Mark the Shark with you. Thank you for just being in on Thursday with us. Appreciate that. Albert Breer is going to join us today at 6:40. Got a big show lined up for you today. What great storytelling is what the promo says there, Shark. So we've got to have some great storytelling today as well. Bobby, how are you this morning, my friend?
Oh, doing well. If I was any better, I'd be twins. Okay. Never understood what that meant, but people say it, so we're just going to lean on in.
Royals beat the Reds yesterday 3-2. Guardians over the Dodgers 7-4. Both teams off today. Reds started a big series in Chicago Friday against the Cubs. Guards welcome the Angels for the weekend. OKC eliminated the Timberwolves 124-94. They advance to the NBA Finals. They'll play the Knicks and the Pacers. The Knicks host the Pacers tonight at 8 o'clock. Pacers lead that series 3-1. Bobby, are you at all interested in the NBA playoffs right now?
After the Cavs got beat by the Pacers, I was half in, half out. Kind of hoping the Timberwolves get there for Mike Conley's sake and to see him have a chance to potentially win a NBA championship, but not particularly. I watched a little bit of it. I've watched some of the Knicks, Pacers. I've watched parts of all of these games, but not significant amounts. Like, they haven't been enough to draw my interest, like to watch any of them from tip to finish like I was doing with the Cavs, or at least like a whole half.
Right. No, I got you. That okay. See, look, they're a young team. They're an exciting team. The Pacers have got some pieces on there as well. But I'm with you. It's like they're not going to draw me in necessarily to watch them.
You watch the NBA though. Generally.
Yeah, I will throughout the season. I'll watch some.
Really? How many NBA games do you watch during the year?
Oh, I bet I watched probably a couple of dozen this year, start to finish.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I did. Celtic,
right.
yeah. I don't.
I'm surprised then that you're not watching.
Well, it's just
if you're telling me you watched 24 games, 24
for the season. Yeah, for the season I did. Yeah.
I watched. You're lucky if I watched a couple dozen minutes of games throughout the season. I've watched some Cavs stuff. Outside of that, nothing has really garnered my interest.
Florida beat Carolina 5-3 in the NHL yesterday in the Eastern Conference Finals. Florida wins that series 4-1. Edmonton plays Dallas at 8 o'clock tonight in Dallas. Edmonton leads that series 3-1. So one of those will advance to play Florida next as Florida goes for a second straight Stanley Cup championship. And you got goalie Bob and you got Seth Jones on that Florida team, former Jackets, going for that. Memorial gets underway today. Looks like a decent weather day today. I don't think we're going to be deluge with the Memorial, the typical radar with the weather and things like that the rain going on out there. But looks like yesterday's program was a lot of fun for people. Saw some of the highlights from that and seeing Saban and Ryan Day with the trophy. We had Rothman did a great job in interviews out there with people. Saw him talking to Peyton Manning a little bit about things. But the Memorial, though, officially gets underway. I believe they're teeing off here in about an hour or so. Bobby, you ready for this date in history? Like I always ask you, even though I know you are, but I still feel like I need to ask you, so I don't just start the music without it going. But let's get it rolling for you, Bob.
Time to get smarter. Morning Juice presents Today in History. Here's your professor, Bobby Carpenter.
Take it away, Bobby.
So I love that you said, "Are you ready?" Never giving me a chance to respond.
Never gave you a shot.
And then just firing.
It's great radio.
Oh, it's really entertaining. It is Thursday, May 29th, the 149th day of the year, 216 days remaining in this 2025. And it's always amazing. We cross that 150 mark, and before you know it, you'll flip this thing upside down, be more sands in the bottom than in the top. This date, 1790, Rhode Island is admitted as the 13th and final state of the original colonies. This date, 1886. John Pemberton, what did he create? That off?
Who was it? Pemberton?
Yeah.
Tupperware.
1886. What did John Pemberton create? Because I'm pretty sure plastic wasn't around then.
I don't know what he created.
Oh, there's plastic, little microplastics in my brain now. You know what Pemberton created, Shark?
I do not.
Oh, come on.
The name sounds familiar.
It should, because he was the doctor that created Coca-Cola.
Down there in Atlanta.
Yes, and this week
actual cocaine in there.
Well, why not? You want to bring them in, don't you? And then you want to keep them coming back. Places his first ad for Coca-Cola in the Atlanta Journal. So right down there in Atlanta. helping to promote that. This date, 1853, Sir Edmund Hillary and the Sherpa Tenzing Norgay are the first people to summit Everest. And I think that didn't happen until 1953 is pretty wild. My son was asking me yesterday about the 7 summits around the world, the highest points in every continent. And just looking around, I'm like, you want to climb these, big dog? Like, what are we bringing these in for? Do you know what the highest point in North America is?
No, I don't.
Well, they used to call it Mount McKinley, then it was Denali, and now it's back to Mount McKinley, I believe.
So one of the two, Denali or McKinley, yeah. You are correct in saying that, though. You're on the right slope, if you will.
Yes.
Being able to get that done. Do you know the highest point in Africa?
Kilimanjaro.
Good job.
Is that K2?
No, K2
Nope.
is different. That's
Europe.
Yeah. So, yeah, K2. Is K2 in Europe?
I don't know where it is.
Isn't it? No?
I don't think it's the highest point.
Is it?
I think it's
maybe it's Nepal.
Yes, but it's second, so it doesn't
That would be Asia.
Yes, which Everest is the highest point in Asia. So it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
one of
you're
the
right.
7 summits. It's interesting, though, looking around. Like, some of them are only, like, 2,200 meters. Like in, I think in Australia, I'll have to look at where there's just some continents that don't have a lot of elevation, Shark.
That one I did in Oregon had to be the tallest one.
Nope.
Felt like it was.
The one you did in Oregon, the one you walked up, probably pretty close. This date, 1965, only a couple weeks after his release, Help Me Rhonda hits #1 by the Beach Boys.
Miranda, you look so fine, and I know it wouldn't take much time for you to help me, Rhonda, help me get her right.
When he says "Help me get her out of my heart," is he talking about another Rhonda? Rhonda 1?
Maybe it had 2 Rondas.
Heather,
Do you
2.
think it's "Help me, Heather, help me get her out of my heart"?
Yes.
There you
Beach
go.
Boys in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they're not really rock and rollers.
They're kind of yacht rock.
Yeah, if they're in, Neil Diamond should be in.
Is Neil Diamond not in?
No.
He's not in?
No.
I mean, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I just consider like the Music Hall of Fame. Everything
Yeah,
like
'cause
kind
that
of
one.
not country
There's a
music.
lot of pop in there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of rap in there,
I mean,
too.
you consider
Yeah.
the Beatles rock? I mean, I would consider the Beatles pop.
They had, I think back then it was considered rock, certainly
Yeah.
rock and roll, and they had rock songs.
Rock-ish.
Yeah.
Rocky. They had Rocky songs.
Some actual rock stars here. Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones hits #1 in 1971.
Here and wrecked a wham and just around midnight. Brown sugar, how come you taste so good?
What's he talking about, Shark?
He's talking about dating an African-American woman.
There you go.
Do you have a favorite Stones song?
Painted Black.
Painted Black Shirt. That's right. I
Yeah,
forgot.
it's not
Painted
even
Black
close.
Shirt.
That's not like that was one of their first hits too.
Painted Black was?
I believe so.
I remember the video when they had a video on MTV about it. But I don't. You have a favorite Stones song, sure?
I do.
What you want to share? Or do you want to keep
Can't
it private?
think of it.
Must be a banger then. Must be a really good one then. If you can't think of it.
I can't think of the name of
It's
it.
okay. It'll come to you, Shark. Just
I
do
did
your
like
balance
Jumpin'
test.
Jack Flash. He's a gas.
I like Love Is Strong from one of the more recent albums. Like when I say recent, I mean like 90s.
Yeah.
Right.
How about this? Do you like Love Hangover by Diana Ross, which hit #1 in 1976?
I've got the sweetest hangover. I don't wanna get over. Sweetest hangover.
Do you think that Mick Jagger was talking about Diana Ross and then Diana Ross was talking about Mick Jagger?
Could be.
That's a great,
Could be,
great
Bob.
No
possibility.
one
there.
knows. I mean, I just threw that out there and hitting #1 in 76. This date, 1988, Ronald Reagan travels to the Soviet Union for the first superpower summit. And I don't know how long that superpower lasted over in the Soviet Union, disbanding shortly after that. This date, 2001.
Whoa, hey! I got audio for that.
You do?
Bob. Oh yeah.
Oh, there you go.
This is NBC News Digest. Here is Garrett Utley, NBC News, Moscow.
Good evening. President Reagan and Soviet leader Gorbachev began 5 days of summit meetings here in Moscow with ceremonial greetings and private talks about human rights. While the two leaders were meeting, Raisa Gorbachev took Nancy Reagan on a tour of the Kremlin grounds. After that, President and Mrs. Reagan took a stroll in a Moscow shopping district. They were so mobbed by well-wishers and security agents and news people, they had to be rushed back to their limousine. There will be a second summit meeting at the Kremlin tomorrow and also a state dinner.
Ooh, a state dinner. What do you think of state dinners like in
Going
the
to have
Soviet
some
Union?
borscht and some vodka. It's the only two things I know in Russia.
Probably a lot of fresh fruit up there in Moscow.
Russian dressing?
Okay.
I don't know. I've
Salad
never had
dressing?
Russian dressing. What is Russian dressing?
It looks like Catalina dressing, right?
I don't
Kinda
know. I've
orange
never,
Russian
I've never-
dressing?
I've never even heard of
You've
Russian
never heard of
dressing.
Russian dressing? Yeah, it's.
That's interesting. What does it taste like? That
I don't know. It
It's a little tangy.
tastes communism.
tastes like communism.
Used to taste like the Soviet Union. Now it tastes like Russian.
There you go. This date, 2001, the Supreme Court rules in favor of the true patriot, golfer Casey Martin, as he gets to finally use a cart. Do you have the ruling on
True
that, Shark?
patriot.
Come on.
I don't, Bob.
Listen.
His
the-
career didn't
the
last
80
very long in
The
that
88,
court.
well, listen, he was, because he needed a cart.
Didn't have a leg to
Had to
stand
fight
on.
it. Oh, that's
Ooh,
terrible.
Oh,
Too
he was Tiger's teammate.
He
at
was,
Stanford.
at Stanford. Yeah.
And then this date, 2015, the One World Observatory opens on top of the One World Trade Center. You been up to the top of that yet, Shark?
No,
You been up there?
I was at the top of the old Twin Towers, but not this one.
No.
I've been to the bottom. We didn't take because I think you have to get tickets, and there's like a line. And I took my daughter there this year, and I was like, we can look at it.
Did you go to the museum?
I did not go down to the museum. No,
It's like $30 to get in there.
yeah, it wasn't cheap, and I probably should take her at that point. Listen, you can walk around and see the pools and see the wall, and that was enough. I've had my kids all watch a bunch of documentaries on it. Some birthdays today. Give me liberty or give me death. Born on this date, 1736, was said by
Patrick Henry.
Good job,
Good,
Fred.
Tito,
I played him.
in a school play.
We had it back in the we talked
No, last night for Heather.
in the very early stages of computers and internet at school at Brookhaven, I think it was. We all were like we got with other schools and we were all Revolutionary era characters, and you
That's
had
good.
to debate. I was Patrick Henry. It's always I knew that one, Bobby.
Give me liberty or give me death.
Right.
Garen says that Casey Martin has since had the leg amputated, so we probably shouldn't laugh about
Exactly. That officer over there talking trash about a one-legged golfer.
Listen, what I said was factually correct, but go ahead.
Well, it is now. I mean, it maybe wasn't then, but either way,
Eventually, I'm right all the time.
if you just keep waiting long enough,
Yes, something's
a lot of
gonna
times you
hit.
will.
Something's gonna hit.
Bob Hope, born on this date, 1903.
I starved in Chicago. I stood around on the streets of Chicago trying to get a date. I just changed my name from Leslie Towns Hope to Bob Hope because it sounded rugged, you know. And I was just about ready to give up and go back home with my big sack of laundry, and I met a friend, and I got a job. I got $25, which was just like, $1,000. And I played Detroit, Michigan last weekend, State Fair, and I got a lot of money. In 1928, I was making $5, and I'd go on for nothing just to practice, you know. But when I was being paid, I'd get $5 or $10. And I sat there going, and believe me, I got a lot of money at Detroit. And I figured it out, though. After taxes, I was getting about the same. About $10.
Yeah.
Take home.
Has anyone alive right now ever laughed at anything Bob Hope said? I can't think of one time I ever laughed at anything Bob Hope ever said.
I don't know that I've ever seen Bob Hope on television.
I bet no one alive. Did you ever think Bob Hope was at all funny?
I did. When
Sure
I
you
was a
did?
kid, I thought he was pretty funny. One time when I was about 10 years old, he said he was on a flight and he was looking out at the mountains, and then he realized it was Dolly Parton sunbathing.
That's
and I
pretty
thought
good.
that was
That's
really
a nice
funny.
one.
You know, not funny at
Low-hanging
30 years
fruit.
old, but at
Yeah.
10 years old, I got the joke.
So that was his target demo, 10-year-old boys, you think?
10-year-old shark.
That's good. Born also on this date in 1917, the 35th President of the United States, which is who, Thidoff?
35th?
Yeah,
Lincoln.
Oh, boy.
No, it's JFK.
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they both have another distinct category together, but the 35th President, John F. Kennedy Jr.
I would be extremely sorry if they said, we won't take Kennedy because he's a Catholic, but we want him because he's a Catholic for vice president. If we make both of those determinations on the grounds of my religion, regardless of any other factors, I would think that the Democratic Party would not deserve to be successful, because you would be giving an office to a candidate who potentially could be the president in either case, and whose only claim under those conditions would be that he happened to go to church on Sunday to the Catholic Church. I must say I would consider that at a most crucial time in the life of this country to be a disastrous way of picking a ticket.
Identity politics back in 1960. That's amazing.
I don't know why that was a big deal. We had never
He was
had
the
a
first
Catholic. I
president.
know. I just don't know why that mattered so much back then.
Well, it was I think the largest religious sect in the United States at that point, and the fact that we had never had a Catholic president through like 150 some odd years at that point.
Now we've had two of them.
And now we've had two, and maybe a third at some point in the future. This date, 1939, Al Unser was born. He's one of four men to win the Indy 500 four times. Melissa Etheridge turning 64 years young today.
Come to my window. Come on inside. Wait by the light of the moon.
Oh, goodness. I really enjoy that song, Shark. Thanks for throwing that on there for me today. Eric Davis, one of Thidoff's favorites. Turning 63 today.
Wish he would
Shot into right center field with speed. He'd get that triple. Let's see if he can do it. Will he try it? He's going to go for it. He's going for the cycle. And he slides, and he is safe. Eric Davis, how many times do you see that? Hit for the cycle as Larkin scores. It's 9-4. But that's something you see so rarely, and the fans here know it.
How many times do you think players have hit for the cycle, Shark?
Oh, it happens a couple times a year.
So let's say a couple hundred?
A couple hundred, yeah.
Yeah. I know that it's more frequent than people believe, but I didn't think it was more than if you hear 5 a year, I would say that's a lot.
Yeah.
I would say 5 year would be a lot, yeah. But, boy, Eric Davis, that 162-game stretch from, like, 86 through middle of 87, that kind of thing, when he played, he was unbelievably exciting. Everything he did. He was like, people talk about Ellie De La Cruz, how great it is. That's all fine. But nothing could top that era of Eric Davis.
Okay. I love it. Little Eric Davis. Oh, listen, he was on their World Series team in 90, correct?
He was, yes. It's because Marge wouldn't fly him back.
Yeah, he got hurt, so Marge wouldn't pay to fly him home from
the Oakland. Yeah.
Had to make him bus back.
She was cheap.
That's amazing. What do you mean he got hurt? She wouldn't fly him back?
He had like a kidney thing or something, didn't he? And it was,
He had to spend time in the hospital,
right.
But he had to
pay for his own ticket back.
Oh, my gosh. That is disgusting. Puka Nacua, the brother of Lene Kekua, I think, turning 24 today. Rams wide receiver. Is that not accurate?
I don't know.
Did I just make it up?
Who's Lene?
Is that the one who punched the guy?
Lene, that was I want to say
Manti Te'o's girlfriend.
Te'o's girlfriend.
Doesn't he have a brother who plays like in the UFL who punched a fan? Yeah, like this past season.
Maybe.
I think it was Nakua's brother did that.
And then one of the great young pitchers in the major leagues right now, and might be on his way to being like the next Roger Clemens. Paul Skeens turning 23.
With the first pick of the 2023 MLB draft, the Pittsburgh Pirates pick Paul Skeens, right-handed pitcher from LSU.
What a moment for the Skeens family. You can see them there. He is at home. He told us in Omaha his plan was to be at home and be able to celebrate with those that helped get him here. The Pittsburgh Pirates have now added arguably a generational pitcher to their organization.
You know what the best part about Skeens is, outside of him dating Olivia Dunn?
His porn stash.
His porn stash, and the fact that he was at the U.S. Air Force Academy and said when he gets done playing, he wants to fulfill his commitment to the Air Force, is the fact that even despite his 2.15 ERA, he is 4-5 this year.
Yeah,
with the Pirates.
That's the Pirates for you.
I mean, that is unbelievable. That is ridiculous. Some passings today. One of the legends passed away on this date, 2010. Bad Things, man. That was one of my favorite. You remember those commercials?
Yeah.
Beam had no reference for those at all. Do you remember the Bad Things commercials?
I don't think I do remember those.
Bruce Smith, man, does bad things. Was it Reebok? I want to say. Was it Nike?
Reebok or Starter? Might have been Starter.
it was a shoe.
It was a shoe.
Starter never made
man.
shoes. It was maybe Starter or Reebok, but unbelievable commercials back in the mid-'90s. Dennis Hopper, though, passing away on this day, 2010.
And this is him talking about being in Hoosiers.
It's just a wonderful story. I have a son that plays in the basketball team, and I'm the sort of the town drunk. It's a very, very moving part. It's a part that I got nominated for an Academy Award for. The only time that I was ever nominated as an actor. And it's the first time in my career, because I play so many villains, that little kids came up to me and called me Coach. You know? Gene Hackman is wonderful in that. None of the kids had ever acted before, so Gene spent an awful lot of time with them and really worked hard with them. But we'd sit over on the side, and Gene would say to me, "This movie, what are we doing in this movie? How crazy is this? No basketball movie has ever made any money. College, professional, nothing. And we're doing a high school basketball team? We should have our heads examined."
Oh, that's great. And I love it, dude. You get your Academy Award. If you want to play a drunk, you do it well. I mean, I don't know if he's a method actor or not, but I definitely would lean in on that.
You ever been out there to that gym?
I have not.
I got to get out there. I keep saying I'm going to do it. I haven't done it yet. I want to take Artie out there to check out that, because you can still go out there and shoot hoops on that Hoosiers gym where they shot that.
It's because it's no longer part of the school, right? Do they just have the gym there?
I believe it's just I'm not sure. Good question. I don't know on that one.
That's Tim Hall. He's been there.
So Butler doesn't play there?
That's where they play the
state title game. The high school.
Comiskey.
They have the high school.
Okay.
Yeah, they have the high school out there. Yeah.
Championship.
Yeah. What's the
Hickory?
No, not Hickory. What's where Butler plays?
The Field House.
Field House.
Not Allen Field House, is it?
No. It starts. I said Comiskey, but that's not it. It's it'll come. Shark will look it up, and we'll find it there. Some holidays observances. It is Composting Day. It's Middle Ages Day. It's Ascension Day. National Biscuit Day.
Hinkle
Field House.
Ray Hinkle Field House. Pink Flamingo Day and World Digestive Health Day. And those are your historical events, your birthdays, your passings, your holidays observances on this date, Thursday, May 29th, 149th day of the year, and 216 days remaining in this 2025.
There we go. Making us smart as always, Bobby. Appreciate that. Coming up next, one coach thinks the SEC should be playing the Big Ten every year. We'll discuss that next. Morning Juice.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. I care deeply about creating a world we can all fully participate in, free from stigma, misperceptions, and barriers. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on. Easter Seals. Rooted in communities nationwide, Easter Seals helps empower millions of people, regardless of age or disability, through its life-changing services and powerful advocacy. Today and every day, Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for and there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey guys, 13-year NFL veteran and Super Bowl champion Jason McCourty here, and I'm the Innovation Ambassador at FAIR, Food Allergy and Research Education. I would say the most challenging thing as a parent of a kid who has a food allergy is probably the ignorance that I myself had in the beginning. I didn't know what anaphylactic shock was. I didn't know the dangers, let alone the things that she needed to be able to have a normal life. When you go to drop your kid off, and every single time in the beginning, we'd have to go through everything she was allergic to. Preparation is everything, and Me, for playing football for 13 years, it was all throughout the course of the week. It's getting ready for game day. When you're on the field, you're playing for your fans. At home, you're playing for your family. My playbook: read labels, keep it allergy friendly, and have an epinephrine nasal spray as a backup plan. Because when my family's safe from food allergens, that's the real victory. Visit foodallergy.org to learn more.
Tito invited the new Russian family who moved in down the street to watch Rocky IV. It did not go well. I must break you. This is Morning Juice.
Morning Juice. Bobby, today is the final day for my daughter in middle school. They do that clap out thing, you know, and everything. Middle school, going to middle school. I'm sorry.
Say,
I know,
dude,
you're right. Elementary school.
Grade.
Yes, I know. Going into middle school. It's the last day.
Yeah.
You've been through a couple of those.
Yep. I've been through 2 of them. I'll be through a third. Well, I'm not going to be there. They do it because they have a half day for the last day of school now, which is very eventful. And I've got a speaking engagement that I've got to take care of today at noon. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we got the clap out today. I know at Barrington they would walk over to Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't, where Charlotte goes to school, they're not a middle school.
Well, they don't walk over to Jones. They just walk across the street.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's right across the track there to go to Jones, and usually didn't they do it that
but they
way?
don't go. They just walk out the sidewalk and then leave. No one actually goes even onto the track.
Oh, I thought they went on the track. I thought they used to do that.
No, not to my knowledge. They just walk and then they walked home. There was no traversing anywhere else.
Brian Kelly has said that he thinks the SEC and the Big Ten should play each other every single year. It's like the teams should play against each other when they're talking about the football schedules for the respective conferences. And I'm okay with that. I know the SEC's having their meetings down in Destin. There's some great audio, by the way, when Lane Kiffin was on with Feinbaum. I thought it was really funny the way they go back and forth. But nonetheless, the SEC and Sankey have been talking about the playoffs and what they prefer. They like the 5-11 model, is what Sankey was saying, is what they're more in favor of than the auto bids thing.
Who is they?
The 5 and 11 model is what the SEC commissioner Sankey is encouraging.
That's not what it was said.
He said he prefers the 5-11 model.
He said he talked to the coaches, and they preferred the 5+1 model.
The 5
or 5 plus 11 model.
Right? Yeah,
yes.
where there's no auto bids
outside of
the 5 conference champions,
yes.
Right? So, and then that talked about the fact that would one model or the other affect how you schedule games? If the SEC has, say, 4 locked-in spots, are they more likely to play less games against Mercer and more games against schools from Power 4 conferences?
Well, they said they're in the talks right now with the Big Ten and Tony Petitti to go to a 9-game conference schedule and work out some sort of scheduling relationship with the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian Kelly came out and said, we want to play Big Ten teams, and I think part of that's a little bit arrogant, even though he said they've won the last 2 national championships, but we want to play Big Ten teams.
Right.
And I think that would be good for the sport, getting them to 9 games, having a Big Ten 10th game, whatever you do with your final 2, okay, that's for you. Now, some of the SEC teams have their ACC locked-in rivals, so it's a tough schedule for them. Here's the thing, multiple 9-3 SEC teams would have gotten in this year under a 16-team playoff.
Yeah.
And you would have probably had, I don't know what the order is, but the 3 that were sitting on the outside, Bama, South Carolina, and Ole Miss, they were all right there. And so, you talk about adding 4 more spots, probably 2 of those teams get in. And then you're getting to 5. The Big Ten would have 2, and I don't know who else, just off the top of my head, would have been in that conversation. I think Illinois was Illinois close this year? No.
Illinois,
yes,
yeah. They were close. Yeah, they were. They were in contention for what I thought.
So
They're being talked about, yeah.
Maybe you have a Colorado, or they end up losing a couple down the stretch, but you would potentially have that another team from maybe the Big 12 getting in, and then there would be your deal. And so people want to have all these locked in things. I think the coaches, they're like, hey, let's just let us play. We'll be competitive. The other side of it is the conferences and the commissioners and the people on the administration. Some of them, I think, prefer the guaranteed revenue, and they don't want to get screwed potentially. But there'll probably be more years than not that it'll be advantageous for them than actually detrimental if they do the auto bid, if they don't do auto bids outside of just the champions, instead of that 4-2-2,
right? Yeah,
or 4-4-2-2-1-3 model or whatever it is, where the Big Ten, SEC each get 4, ACC and Big 12 each get 2. You have your your group of 5 team, and then there's 3,
Notre Dame and
Notre Dame probably being in that group of 3 of the auto bids.
So, and I know that LSU last year played a couple of schools that are now in the Big Ten, but when they scheduled them, they weren't in the Big Ten. When they played USC and UCLA both last year, LSU did. But I'd be all for it. I like that when schools play against other, like the Big Ten and SEC, when they play against each other, do home and homes and things like that. I liked it when, in Ohio State, I remember them playing at LSU. Back when they didn't have a game at LSU with the Cooper years, right? The Bruce years? It was a Cooper years.
No, it was the Cooper years. We lost down there, did we tie
I think
down
we tied
there?
one, yeah.
And then here, Bobby Olive had a catch in the end zone in the final minute to beat them.
Yeah, I'd be fine with things like that. I hope they do more scheduling things like that, where they do play against some of these bigger schools and more prominent ones. The 16-team playoff, I am hoping will lead to more intriguing regular season matchups if you're not going to get murdered for a loss. Like, you can have a 2-loss or 3-loss team in the playoff from the Big Ten and SEC on a consistent basis. That would encourage some of these games. Bobby, what's the financially for Ohio State? I mean, when they play a school like OU, they play a school like Akron, in-state schools, they're keeping that money in-state, and they're not having to do a return trip for those. And those are the most attractive reasons why to play those schools, right?
Well, yeah, because you're bringing in just for argument's sake, even though it's no longer that anymore. I mean, 100,000 times 80 is $8 million.
Right.
So that would be your gate, plus whatever parking, concessions, and everything else that's there, minus your expenses. And part of the expenses is you paying $1 million, $1.5 million, whatever it is, to that in-state school that's going to be traveling here to play against you.
And that's never going to go away, is it? I mean, I got to believe Ohio State will just every year is going to play an in-state school.
I mean, in theory, that's what people are saying, but I don't know if that's factually accurate. I mean, you could see a day, depending on how much they're going to make on television revenue, that you could play a 12-game conference similar to the NFL. Like they talked about doing some sort of
like the Super League thing, and then then you're not. Then there's no max schools in it.
I don't know that is the case, but I can't completely rule that out. So for you to say always is a big word, because there's finality to it, and I don't know that that's the truth.
I think it's better. I would rather play OU, Cincinnati, Bowling Green than Grambling. We got Grambling
on schedule this year.
Florida A&M. I don't need that.
I
don't even need
Northern Illinois.
Yeah, I don't even need
Michigan,
other MAC
Michigan,
schools.
Right.
Western Michigan. Let's keep it in state. What the heck gives a little interest, at least for those players from Ohio who would love to play in the Horseshoe. I don't understand the Grambling State stuff.
I don't get that. I don't know what led to that one. That's why I can't figure out why that one's on the schedule.
No, I mean, any of those that are similar, where you're playing teams that are, FCS schools. I mean, I got the Youngstown State thing with Tress. I'm not really a fan of playing the FCS schools at all. I'm like, you can play a MAC school and it's going to probably be about the same for you. And doing that, I'm with you. Like, if you're going to do it, keep it in state, keep it close, and those dollars stay here. And it's giving kids an opportunity to play in the stadium that most likely, or a lot of them are from Ohio, and that's something that they've always dreamed of doing.
Yeah, I like that aspect of it. I like when you get the school like OU coming here. I think it's cool for a lot of the kids who maybe had dreams and aspirations of playing in that stadium, in the Horseshoe, and didn't get a chance to. And I think
two of my brothers, both playing at Marshall and Cincinnati, got to play here. My brother played at OU, did not. But I know how cool that was for them to be able to play here, in a big game environment, and be a part of that, and something that they grew up seeing and grew up going to the games. So that was a cool thing for them.
I wonder if they'll make any kind of adjustments or change some schedules around to get BG in here while Eddie's there. Because I don't believe Eddie is
They make these schedules.
They may
so
way in
far
advance,
out.
yeah. But you see games get canceled sometimes, Bobby, or things get switched around where maybe they tell a school, I don't know who they're playing in the next few years, but they tell maybe somebody they're playing in next year or the year after that, like, hey, we'll do 2029 instead with you, and we're going to slide Bowling Green here on this one. I get the sense, Bobby, I know, like, you know Eddie more than I do, but if he's at BG longer than 5 years, I'd be surprised. I think he's a rising star in the coaching ranks.
Yeah, and I would say that, and he's also not a young man anymore.
It's true, yeah.
He's 50. He's got to be 10 years older than me, so I'm guessing he's 51. Maybe going to be 52 this year. So, yeah, in 5 years, he's 57. Like,
yeah.
He looks young, and he's got a young energy to him.
Sure.
But, I mean, still with that, he's at least 5 years older than Ryan Day. So, like, if you're going to take a job, you're going to take something quicker sooner rather than later.
Bowling Green.
When is it, next year?
2027.
2027, okay.
Next season, of course, we've got Ohio this year. Then we've got Kent State and Ball State in 26. Bowling Green and New Hampshire. That's a Ryan Day
That's
thing.
a Ryan Day
sure,
thing there,
27. Yeah. You've got Northern Illinois and Buffalo in 28. 2 MAC schools. Why can't we play Ohio schools?
Just do that, yes. I don't get it. I don't understand that one. But yeah, okay. I'm glad we got Eddie coming here. Then yes, I forget how you're right, Bobby.
So they thought ahead.
They knew it.
They knew he was going to
be the head
job.
coach at Bowling Green. They figured he's going to be Bowling Green or Buffalo, one or the other. Let's get them both on the schedule. You're right, Bob. You said about Eddie, and it's hard. I can't think of him being that old. You know what I mean?
He won the Heisman Trophy.
I understand.
In 95.
Was it 95?
Yeah,
96, 95. Okay, yeah. You're right. No, it's just I don't. You're right. When I look at him though, with that youthful, the look, he still looks young. Youthful zeal. There we go.
I'll tell you what. I was working out with him about 10 years ago, so he was about my age now. I was in grad school, and he would come back and he would pop in and work out, and Schleggs was in there, and we were having him going through like legit player workouts. I remember him complaining about his knees so bad, and then after like a couple of days, he's like, I can't do all this. So we're doing these like explosive jumps and all this stuff.
He was
and
trying to keep up with him.
He looks great, and he's like, and Schleggs like, come on, Eddie, like juice him up, and like just appealing to his pride, and he's like, I can't do that. I can't. After like a week, he's like, I can't walk out of here afterwards. My knees hurt so bad. And that was when he was my age now. So I always like laughed, that whole group, like Vrabel, Finkel, Finkus, Fickle, Finkus, Eddie George, Terry, R.I.P. that's passed, Bob Hoying, like that whole crew and Galloway to a certain extent, like that whole mid-90s crew. I'm like, how old are those guys? I'm like, well, they're 10 years older than me. My last year was 2005. Those guys were like 94, 95, 96. Right. Some of them are redshirted in there. So me plus 10.
Yeah.
And that's how old they are. And it's kind of wild to think that. And I joke on the other end of it now, like Joshua Perry's on the other side of that of me, where he's 10 years younger than me. He finished up his last year was 15, graduated in 16. It's like, okay, so there you go. And now, ironically, we're getting to the point where he's 10 years out of this next group graduating.
Eddie George should be in the Hall of Fame. He should be in Canton. He should be in the Hall of Fame. He was a Hall of Fame running back in the NFL, had a great career.
Who had more yards, you think, him or Ricky Williams?
Eddie George.
You think?
I think Eddie George did.
I think it's really close.
I think it is closer than you may lead yourself to believe.
I think they're both around 9,000.
Now, we already talked about. Were you not here?
Yeah, we talked about Ricky.
I think Eddie's over 10.
Ricky's over 10.
I think Eddie's over 10. I think Eddie's over 10. Because Eddie had like 9,000-yard seasons to start his career, didn't he?
He's at 10. He's at 1044 or 10,441.
Who, Eddie?
Eddie is.
Oh, that's going to be real close.
It's going to be very tight.
Don't you think Eddie should be in the Hall of Fame, Shark?
I'm not saying that he should or shouldn't. I'm just.
Oh, no, I'm just asking. Like, do you think though that he should be?
He has him by like 400 yards. Ricky's at 10,009.
Okay, so Eddie's got more yards. Okay, yeah, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I think Eddie. I'm surprised Eddie didn't get more play or more push for the Hall of Fame. Maybe a successful coaching career with Bowling Green. Maybe does some things there, or it goes on to that. Maybe that will get him some kind of a push when it comes to the voting for, even though they're not supposed to consider that kind of thing. Still, the fact that. But based on what he did on the field, though, I think Eddie should be there. All right, coming up next, Albert Breer joins us. We'll do that. Morning Juice.
Around the world, Children International and friends like you are giving children in poverty a chance to grow and thrive, to be healthy, to succeed in school, and achieve great things. How do we do it? in the best way possible by helping ensure access to healthcare, nutrition, and educational opportunities. And most importantly, by empowering youths and their families to get out of poverty and into employment through life skills, computer, and job training. The very tools they need to break the cycle of poverty and build futures full of promise. Because every child deserves a chance to realize their full and best potential. Learn more about how Children International is empowering children and families by going to children.org today. That's children.org.
You know what hope is? Hope is action. Carving a path forward, even when it's hard.
And kids who still know how to dream. They're the best pathfinders of all.
So at Child Fund, hope means helping millions of children living in poverty worldwide to grow up healthy, educated, skilled, and so all those good things can come true for them, safe.
And that means safe at home, safe at school, and safe online.
Hope means walking this path together, all of us. Because when we work together, we can do so much more.
That's right. Hope includes you.
Child Fund, because we need each other.
To learn how Child Fund works with children in 23 countries to help them achieve their full potential, visit childfund.org. That's childfund.org.
It's been a real journey since 2014 when I first had my injury. I realized that my home was just not working for me and that it was time to ask for help. Homes for Our Troops is really giving me my life back. The shower allows me to go in and turn around with my chair, pull down storage racks, automated door systems, hours of my morning given back to me. Adaptive sports are a huge part of my life, a huge part of my healing journey as well. Homes for Our Troops helped with making sure that I had a home gym so that I can continue to train. This past year, I was able to host Thanksgiving in my home. And it was the first time I was able to have my whole family in one place and I was able to contribute to the meal. There are a lot more veterans in need, and Homes for Our Troops is going to be there to help them too.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives. Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
Bobby is known as the General. Tito shops at Dollar General. This is Morning Juice.
Morning Juice. If you're watching us, that handsome guy in the middle is Albert Breer from MMQB. Albert, good morning. And I'm curious, Terry Bradshaw came out and made some very pointed comments about the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers and saying how they, it's a joke with the Steelers, how they're smitten and pursuing and letting Aaron Rodgers dictate what's going on as far as where he's going to play next year and with the time frame of it. Any movement, any new news to report on Rodgers?
Well, I would just say at this point that the Steelers expect that he'll be there at some point, and I'm not sure they know exactly when, but I do think the mini camp in 2 weeks, which I believe starts 2 weeks from, or a week from this coming Monday or Tuesday, is a critical point in this whole thing. I think Mike Tomlin would like to have, his quarterback in place then. It sets a tone before they go into their summer break and, give them an opportunity to sit down with Aaron and give him some stuff to work on. Now, I would say that they've been patient, and I think they've been patient for a reason. And I think Aaron Rodgers has not signed for a reason. And, I think the Steelers want to respect, the personal things that Aaron's working through and the travel that he's doing and all of that. And respect the fact that he is, more or less said, whenever I sign, I want to be all in. And I think for Aaron, part of the reasoning here is what he went through last year, and what a circus the whole trip to Egypt became, and whether he was in or out for all of the spring became such a big storyline. I just don't think he wants to deal with any of that. So, I think he feels like he's better off just saying, okay, when I'm ready to dive all the way back into football, that's when I'll sign. And, obviously he hasn't been ready to do that yet. But I think, we we could be getting some closure here soon.
Is it possible, Albert, that he was the one filming that video of Stephon Diggs on the boat then? Is that maybe where he was?
I mean, that would be that looked like a pretty good camera shot, so he would have had a good view of everything.
He's tall. He had a nice elevated angle going down.
It is true. You were kind of looking down at Steph, and I think Steph's like 5'11", right? So
yeah.
I think the height would kind of match up, right?
So,
I don't know.
I mean, Vrabel commented on that. The fact that he's not at an organized team activity is one thing, but the fact that then that's what people find out he's doing. I mean, Mike said he's going to keep a lot of that conversation internal. I mean, is there any buyer's remorse on this situation? And how do you think the NFL is going to address this moving forward?
I think it's, well, first of all, I think the NFL is going to look into it because the NFL looks into everything. And once the NFL, as you know, Bobby, once the NFL looks into something, it becomes a pain in the ass for the team. You know what I mean? Like, it is officially become a pain in the ass for the team having to deal with this, which, I think, in fairness to Steph, and I like Steph personally, like, I think in fairness to Steph, like, work ethic's never been a question for him. Competitiveness has never been a question for him. Whether or not he's liked by most of the people in the building has rarely been a question. He's had some, obviously, friction with his quarterbacks, but for the most part, the people who've been around him really like him. But he's one of those guys where it's always something. You know what I mean? There's always something. And, so doesn't make him a bad guy, but this feels like another one of those things. And what's so interesting about it to me, Bobby, is Vrabel was so particular about the guys that he went out and brought in. And, I think that's because Mike understands the dynamics of a locker room and how guys keep score by contracts in a locker room. Mm-hmm. And they're paying attention to what and who a team is paying. And so they go get Milton Williams, who by all accounts is like a A+ character guy for the Eagles. A great team guy for the Eagles. And then almost every other veteran acquisition they had some sort of connection to the coaching staff. Even Diggs himself did, Diggs had been with Todd Downing in Minnesota. And, so Diggs was sort of their dice roll. And the rest of the guys, it's like, whether it's Harold Landry or Robert Spillane or, like I said, Milton Williams is in that category as well. Like, almost like just about all of them kind of match up with what they're looking for in football character. And it's just sort of interesting. The dice roll has already kind of produced this result. It's not even June yet, So I'll be interested to see where this goes. And I think a big part of it is going to be what explanation Steph gives Mike. And we may never find out what the explanation is, but I think where this becomes a bigger problem for Steph is if he's not truthful with Mike. If he's truthful with Mike, I think it probably winds up being okay and maybe just a blip on the radar.
Albert Breer joins us here from MMQB on Morning Juice. And it seems to me this year, Albert, that unlike past years, maybe in recent memory, there's not a lot of coaches where head coaches are talking about being on the hot seat when the season starts, just because of different changes already made, teams that made investments in rookie quarterbacks or made changes and whatnot. Are there any quarterbacks or any coaches, that you think are going into this season under a lot of pressure?
I'd have to think about that one.
The one that came to mind for me is Tomlin a little bit.
I was actually thinking about saying Tomlin just because, like, if Rodgers signs there, they're really kind of at this critical point with their roster where TJ Watt's turning 31, Minka Fitzpatrick's turning 29, Cam Hayward's obviously at the end. DK Metcalf, even like he's not older, but he is on a third contract and he's been a little beat up. So, that's like sort of the ultimate time is now team, and if they sign Rodgers and it doesn't work out, I think a year from now we're talking about a teardown. And if we're talking about a teardown, then the question becomes maybe not Mike getting fired, but is it time to look at like kind of everybody turning the page together? So that would be one. Shane Steichen in Indianapolis, they're going into their third year. Obviously, tragic events of last week, whenever you have an ownership change, even if it's just the reins of the team being handed down in the family, that's a material change. So, the general manager, Chris Ballard, there's been questions about his job security over the last couple of years. So if there's some change, maybe there's total change if they don't have a good year. Todd Bowles is one in Tampa like that, where that's been talked about a lot over the last couple of years, and Todd keeps winning the division. So like that would be another one. So there are a few out there where you look and you say, okay, if this team doesn't take a step forward, maybe there's some level of change within the organization. The most obvious one, I just missed the most obvious one, which is the Giants, right?
Yes, Brian did. Yeah, because he was on the hot seat.
Over the most obvious one.
Yeah,
I see what you guys didn't realize there. So I was just buying myself time to figure out which
savvy veteran move there. You know what you're doing, Albert.
Yeah, that was absolutely key there. When you talk about the reins being handed over, and we've seen this now happen over the last 10 to 15 years, and the NFL has kind of loosened their policy on some of these different things. But as the Irsay transition happens, has there been like kind of a clearly outlined structure? Because I know the NFL digs into that of who's going to be operating, what that transition process looks like, and then who ultimately is going to be in control.
Yeah, so like you have the three daughters, of course, and I think that the three daughters have each taken roles in the organization. Carly's the one that has kind of, I think, been groomed to be the principal owner. But I think all three will be involved. There's the big picture question too there, Bobby, which is the estate taxes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think what you see with a lot of teams now, like you guys have noticed how like some of these teams are selling off 5%, 10%, right? Well, part of the logic there for these teams is like, because the valuations have gone into the stratosphere, the estate taxes are going to be crazy.
Yep.
So you're selling off pieces. Some of these teams are selling off pieces. In some cases, the parents are selling off pieces so the children will be able to absorb the estate taxes when they come down the line. So, there are definitely those questions, but I would say this is one where, Jim really, I think, wanted to see the team stay in the family, and really was intentional about grooming his daughters to be able to run it. And I know Carly has been involved on a pretty intimate level as far as knowing the ins and outs of what goes into running a team. And Jim had a great right-hand man there, and a guy he'd been together with since 1982 when the team was still in Baltimore, and Pete Ward, who I think can kind of be the steward of the team and can kind of help Carly with any sort of learning curve that she's going to be facing as she becomes the principal owner.
Albert Breer joins us here on Morning Juice from MMQB, and the Brown family that owns the Bengals, the Browns, I guess I'll say this, they've made some rumblings about, wanting, state money for improvements or a new stadium or whatnot. The Browns are talking about moving their stadium and going to this dome, to like 15 miles away from where they're at right now. Do you think the Bengals are a true threat to change locations and move to another city?
I have a hard time seeing the Brown family do that. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to date myself here a little bit, but I remember the fight over building the stadium in the first place. And I think they were one of the original teams to kind of like at least lightly threaten, Los Angeles, when LA was like sort of you guys remember for 20 years, LA was really sort of the stalking horse for every team that was looking to, squeeze some public money out of its city. Like, you don't do this, we'll start talking to LA. So, I just have a hard time seeing the Brown family do that. But they're obviously not one of the more cash-rich ownership groups, and it's a little different for them where you're not getting stadiums 100% financed by municipalities anymore, and owners, because of the price of stadiums, are less willing to do these things on their own, and so in a lot of these cases, you're seeing these public-private partnerships. Vegas would be maybe the exception, but obviously there are different dynamics in Vegas. So like, how do you come to a public-private partnership? And is the Brown family looking for more help than a lot of other people would be. And, the other part of it too, guys, is like, if you renovate the stadium, like how long is that going to make the stadium viable for? Are we talking about adding 20 years or 30 years to the shelf life of the stadium in Cincinnati? Or are we talking about being right back at the table in 5 or 10 years because so many of these other teams have really kind of flown by where the Bengals are with their infrastructure, with their physical infrastructure? So, as Cleveland, works on their stadium, Tennessee's opening a stadium, as more and more teams, more and more cities are looking to put roofs over their stadium, the Chiefs are looking at this sort of thing. This is certainly going to be in the news. And, I think, maybe what I talked about too there, which is like, do they sell off a chunk of the team so they have somebody come in who can invest some capital into building, into working on the stadium issue? Do they look at something like that? Because that's another thing the Brown family has been, I think, pretty resident to do, is to bring in partners. That could be another answer for them as far as keeping the team in Ohio.
You mentioned their cash poor situation. I brought this up with the Hendrickson deal, the fact that they've outlaid so much for the wide receivers and now in Burrow as well. The lack of getting the Hendrickson deal done, is there any part of that, of those guaranteed dollars of escrow, that would, you think that's probably the holdup on the issue on this, Albert?
Yeah, I think, yes, the answer is yes. Because their policies relate to that, and they did break policy to re-sign Jamar Chase, and the structure of that deal is definitely like going outside of their normal policies, the way they went outside of their normal policies to do Burrow's deal. T. Higgins' deal, they didn't really break their precedents, which is sort of interesting. You know what I mean? Like, so on one side you have Chase, where they did go the extra mile, and they did, put a ton of future guarantees into the deal. And then you have Higgins, where you didn't. And so where does Hendrickson land on that spectrum? And then beyond that, like, you have all the water under the bridge now. And that this has been like a really like 3 off seasons of this, and 2 years ago, they do the Band-Aid 1-year extension. And then last year they, basically tell him to kick rocks. And now he's back at the table again. And he has 35 sacks over the last 2 years. And, he's going into a contract year. I mean, do you think that player who's taken on that amount of injury risk is going to be looking to work some sort of compromise? No, he's gonna be saying like, I took 2 years of injury risk. I had 35 sacks through those 2 years. Like, now you're paying the penalty. I'm not paying the penalty. I'm not gonna give you any give back here. So I look at it, Bobby, like with all that water under the bridge, and then you have the divide in the way that the Higgins deal and the Chase deal were done, which not a lot of people are talking about. If you're Hendrickson, you're going to say, I get Chase's structure, not Higgins' structure. If you're the team, you're going to say, well, Chase is a very, very special player, a Triple Crown winner. We love you, Trey. But Joe and Jamar are different animals altogether. And how do you think the player is going to receive that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why it's complicated.
It's dicey. And then the last, I don't mean that we're just diving into Cincinnati here, but the Shamar Stewart contract language that they're hanging on with this. What is that particular part of it, and as you understand it, that's being the holdup here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not a great look that you're in a contract dispute with one pass rusher, and then you've got a contract dispute with a guy that ostensibly is going to eventually replace him, right? In Shamar Stewart. This is over default language. I don't think it's I don't think when we get to October or November, we're going to be too hung up on what happened here. It's what a lot of these contract negotiations with rookies have sort of come down to in recent years. For the agent, obviously it's about setting precedents, and it's about like winning the negotiation, because that stuff is used for you and against you in recruiting. And then for the team, it's about setting precedents with other players in the roster, with veteran players, and how you do their contracts with them. And so, I mean, more or less, without like having everybody out there listening have their eyes glaze over when we talk about contract language, but basically like what default language is for those who don't know, Bobby, I'm sure you're aware of this. It just basically means like what triggers do you have in your contract that can make you default on your guarantees and can void your guarantees. And that's a big deal on a rookie contract because it's like what sort of suspension, like let's say I have a drug suspension or an off-field suspension, like what triggers are there that are going to make it so the guarantees in my contract go away? Rookie contracts are fully guaranteed over 4 years. So if you lose your guarantees, now all of a sudden you've lost your protection. So that's really it. It's the default language in the contract. Again, I don't think it's going to be something we're going to be harping over or reminiscing on in October or November, but it is a big deal now because of the optics it presents with the Trey Hendrickson thing going on.
Thanks to Time Albert. We always appreciate it. We'll talk again next week, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was Albert Breer from MMQB joining us right there via video, which was awesome. All right, quick hitters next. Morning Juice.
In honor of all those we've lost to cancer and those still fighting and thriving, like basketball analyst and cancer champion Dick Vitale.
I want to beat cancer. I'm going to beat it. That's no doubt in my mind. I'm going to win this battle.
Defeating cancer will take all of us. Join our team to help fund game-changing research that saves lives. At the V Foundation, V is for victory over cancer. V is for victory over the odds. V is for victory over health disparities, victory over setbacks, victory over the unknown. V is for victory over giving up.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Donate to the V Foundation to join our team and help save lives.
Cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul.
100% of donations fund game-changing cancer research. Donate now to the V Foundation at v.org.
Within 15 seconds of logging onto social media, the algorithm has your daughter in its crosshairs. It sends her a steady flow of images telling her she isn't thin enough, pretty enough. They invade her brain, causing body dysmorphia, anxiety, depression, leading to the worst rates of eating disorders, self-harm, and suicide we have ever known. All while she's sitting right next to you on her phone. Congress knows, but it refuses to act. Don't let her suffer the secret pain alone. Use your voice. Demand a plan. Join us at the Center for Countering Digital Hate. ProtectingKidsOnline.org. Because it's up to you to protect your children from social media nightmares. Join us. For her. For your daughter.
I'm Shanola Hampton. Every day, millions of people face hunger. Today, I will share with you some of their experiences. I'm stuck between paying for medications or paying for food. John from Maine. After paying my bills, I can buy groceries. It's sad to say, food comes last. Alice from Oregon. I thought pantries were for less fortunate people, but anybody could be less fortunate in a day or even a second. Claire from Virginia. The Feeding America network of food banks helps provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. No one should have to worry where their next meal will come from. Together, we can end hunger. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Proud to be your go-to sports addiction.
WBNS, WBNS FM, HD3 Columbus.
The Fan 3, Ohio sports destination. Bobby knows what it's like to be a winner. Tito knows what it's like to be thrown out of an all-you-can-eat buffet.
You're here 4 hours.
This is Morning Juice.
Morning Juice. Thank you, Albert Breer, for always taking time with us, Bobby. And I appreciate you setting that up. The dude he is awesome.
I just do it for Shark, and when Shark's gone, I don't know if I'll do it anymore.
I've got
but we'll
the biggest man crush on Albert Breer, and I have for 5 years. Love that guy.
I think that was unnecessary, Bobby, to say you do it just for Shark.
Shark's the main reason. I mean, that's real. He asks about it. He always says how he's his favorite guest.
He's your favorite guest, Shark?
Absolutely.
He's proclaimed that.
Wow.
He'd even tell Schleggs that.
Wow.
Schleggs is 1A.
But Breer, he just, whatever you want to know. I should have asked you, Shark, submit me some questions.
Let's see, why can't you jump in, Shark?
He knows everything about everything.
Yeah.
You could never stump him and him say, oh, gosh, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. All right.
It pays to have connections, man. I mean, he works hard and grinds through a lot of stuff.
Here we go.
Morning Juice presents Quick Hitters.
Sponsored by Dr. Mark Levy. If you're snoring and not sleeping, call Dr. Mark Levy today at 1-800-MORE-SLEEP.
All right, boys, good morning. Jake Diebler has 3 of his top 4 scorers returning this fall in senior Bruce Thornton, junior Devin Royal, and sophomore John Mobley Jr. Does that mean the Buckeyes are a top 25 team after missing the NCAA tournament 3 straight years? Well, CBSSports.com says
+1.
Not quite. Yeah, it has released its preseason rankings 5 months before the start of the season. St. John's number 1, Houston second, BYU, Purdue, and Connecticut round out the top 5. Besides the Boilermakers, other Big Ten teams that are ranked: Michigan 8th, Michigan State 15th, Oregon 16th, Illinois 23rd, Wisconsin 25th. Tito, CBS has Ohio State at 26th.
Yeah, I feel like in recent years, Ohio State's gotten more benefit of the doubt in these kinds of rankings. It's just preseason rankings. Doesn't mean anything, right? But it seems like every year, though, Ohio State, regardless of what happened the previous year, they're always on like the cusp of top 25 or talked about, others receiving votes, those kinds of things. And although I do think Ohio State is a top 25 team this year, I still am surprised to see them ranked that way based on the way last year ended, Bob.
Well, they had some nice wins. They had some great wins. They had some rough losses. You know, they finished 17-15. They were right on the fringe of getting in the tournament. They find a way to win a couple more games to get to 20. I think they get in. They were right there. And they're not 25. They're 26. And I find it interesting that if you're going to do a 25 plus 1, that plus 1 is always one of intrigue. And that means Ohio State basketball must have some degree of intrigue to put them as the plus 1 that's hanging out there. Now, I think that it's better to be in that list than to not.
Sure.
Because that means you have a lot of your talent coming back. People like how they've built this team. And like I said, they started fast last year. They've got to just continue that and sustain it through the Big Ten season.
But if it was another, say it was an Ohio State, say it was a Northwestern coming off that kind of
season. Because people are really, that's going to really get the folks excited.
No, what I'm saying is I don't think that they would be ranked 26. I think if you looked at what Ohio State, the way they ended last year and the misfirings they had with the transfer portal last year, I think they're putting a lot of faith. I think if it was a different school with that resume and with a second-year head coach, I don't think they'd be ranked 26.
You're probably right. And the fact that there's a Block O with it helps. The fact that Bruce Thornton coming back helps. And I think that they've done a pretty good job in the portal this year.
From 2001 through 2018, the Patriots won 6 Super Bowls in a span of 18 seasons. Their last championship came with a 13-3 win over the Rams in February of 2019. Now every member of that team is gone. Center David Andrews, who won 2 Super Bowl rings, has announced he will retire at the age of 32, spent his entire career in New England after being undrafted in 2015. Andrews started 11 games as a rookie and then became a full-time starter in his second season, but he played just 4 games last season after suffering a shoulder injury that required surgery. Bobby, do you know anything about David Andrews?
Yeah, what was his first year there?
2015.
Okay, yeah, he came in right after I was leaving, a couple years after that, but he's a good player. I mean, he's a tough player inside, obviously, for him. He was the leader of that group. You know, he'd been around a number of their Super Bowls at the end, but that's officially the turning of the page. Now, your head coach was a part of the first 3 Super Bowls of that group. And so you do have that level of connectivity with it. And the previous coach, Gerard Mayo, and some of the guys on the staff were part of it. But to not have a single guy in that locker room that has won a Super Bowl, I mean, that speaks to how fast things go in the NFL and how those rosters turn over.
And it also makes you appreciate, Bobby, how great that tenure, how great that run was. When you say how quickly things turn over, yes, but the Patriots' run was so much longer then
there was 3 different runs over 18
Right.
years. Teams make like 6-7 year runs. They had 3 of them essentially
It's amazing.
with one quarterback.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's the last piece. He's now riding off to the sunset. No one else left on that team. That's it's the end of that era, and it's amazing to me. Yeah, when you look back on it now, it's one of those things. As we get further away from it, more impressive it becomes to me.
By the way, did Gerard Mayo get a job in the offseason?
I don't think he needed to because he's getting paid $20 million to not coach. So I don't think he was probably looking all that hard. And I don't know if there's offset language or whatever, but I do not believe that he is. I do not believe that he's working anywhere.
Slacker.
Really? Pot kettle.
Come on.
What do you, July 2nd, you have a job?
July 2nd, I'll be 65.
Whatever.
Well, still be 64, but.
Right.
Anyway, he's gosh, he's not even 44.
No, he's younger than me.
Yeah.
He's 39 years old.
Yeah,
Just turned 39 in February.
There you go. Slacker. College football is the farm system for the NFL and the NBA. Baseball has the minor leagues, but also college baseball. Keith Law thinks that college coaches are abusing college pitchers. He cites Boston College's A.J. Colarusso as an example. Colarusso threw 72 pitches in 4 innings last Tuesday in the ACC tournament. Then he came back 3 days later and started for BC and threw 109 pitches in 6 innings. For the week, he threw 237 pitches. Law thinks that's criminal. Tito, I say it's the softening of pitchers.
That's what, Shark, I'm glad you're here to have this discussion because you and I remember the days when you would go out and
back in my day,
we did not.
When
care.
I was a kid,
pitch counts didn't matter. It was innings.
We didn't know pitch counts.
It was innings. You went through a complete game. That's all it was. You threw 8 innings, 9 innings.
That's back when math wasn't important.
Exactly.
Nolan Ryan would throw 275 pitches. He'd walk, 9 guys and strike out 12.
But then he'd pitch again 4 days later. He'd be right out there again pitching. And so I don't have a legit reason, like an answer, Shark, on why it is not that way anymore. Like, why can't pitchers throw like that anymore? I don't know what the reason is. And I'm not saying, look, yes, based on today's standards, based on the way baseball is pitched today, the way it's coached today, the way it's played today, all of those things, throwing that many pitches is now frowned upon. Whereas you were a bulldog, you were a warrior if you threw a 180-pitch complete game, 40 years ago, whatever it was. So, Abilene Christians, Chandler Bentz threw 139 pitches in a game. Gonzaga, Kai Francis, 121 pitches on 4 days rest. So I don't know. I know there was a push years back when Nolan Ryan was with the Rangers organization. I don't know if he still is or not, but they were trying to do that with their minor league pitchers, having them extend more, throw more, so they're stronger when they get to the bigs. I think it ended up not working out, obviously, because they still have that issue. But yeah, by today's standards, that is abuse of the pitchers at the college level, and that would bother me.
So here's the thing. Guys are getting paid now, Fidoff.
Yep.
So college pitchers getting paid. They stay in college longer than they stay they go to the minor leagues. Like, if you're Paul Skeens, like, why would you have gone? You used to be king dog at LSU, make a lot of money, date Olivia Dunn. You want to go play double A or single A for
Chattanooga?
And bus around. Like, dude, you get packed houses playing for NCAA championships. Like, there's a lot of good things that you get going there for you. So it's a much, much different paradigm than what it was. So with that, there's different expectations. Now, I'm with you on the softening of society and the softening of the pitchers. However, I think a lot of the pitching issues that they have are due to the overuse of kids at young ages as opposed to in college, and probably the type of pitches that they are throwing and what you're asking kids to do from like 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, as opposed to guys in college. And also, when you're a player in college, you can look back at your coach and say, I can't go today. Like, this isn't it. Now, if you're doing this all year long, that's one thing. I think if you do this over the course of, a week or a couple weeks when you're in a tournament, because you see this happen in the World Series where they'll flip guys around, and
Randy Johnson did it.
Randy Johnson pitched in 3. Him and Schilling, both pitched 3 games, and they split Game 7. Basically, they had 2 starts apiece and split Game 7. People have done this, and you do it when you're going to try to win. You don't do it all year long. But I think there is a fine line where, hey, let's toughen these guys up a little bit, try to extend them. But I think a lot of that work needs to happen in the youth leagues of making sure that you're taking care of these guys and putting them in a good spot to succeed. But I don't know if I'd define it as soft.
In the youth leagues, they have
pitch counts.
They have pitch counts in youth leagues, but
they do. But guys play in multiple leagues and do different things.
Well, they also, when it comes to tournaments, though, at least in recent, when I was part of this world as a parent and coach, when you get to tournaments, though, it's not pitch counts; it's outs, where a player could pitch for 15 outs, I think, in one day or whatever, and then you had to watch that. So you might be throwing at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, whatever. Yeah. You could have thrown 100 some pitches and still be within the realm, like the. But if you had the regular season, though, like there was usually, if you pitched up to 60, you had to wait at least 3 days before you pitched again, kind of thing, whatever it was. But there were limits. Yeah, you could not go past this limit in the regular season. But tournaments was always a different thing.
Nothing has changed in baseball more than pitching. I can remember when there were 8-man pitching staffs, 4-man starting rotations, and the guys in the bullpen were in the bullpen because they weren't good enough to be starters. A closer would, you'd see Raleigh Fingers, Goose Gossage, guys like that throw 2-3 innings all the time. Now, it's you used to put your closer in if there were men on first and second, nobody out, and then La Russa came up with the idea: why don't I just stick Eckersley out there at the start of the ninth, with nobody on base? And so that was successful, and everybody followed that. So, you rarely see the closer come in the 8th inning. Even
Shark used to be because Mike Marshall, the year he threw 106 games for the Dodgers and 74, whatever it was. He threw more innings than guys throw this year as starters. Right. He threw he had 200 innings as a reliever. He threw 200 innings as a reliever.
Crazy.
And Bill Campbell used to have 4 and 5 inning outings.
We called him Soupy.
Soupy Campbell. Yep.
Is that Earl's?
No,
brother?
I don't think it was Earl's brother. No. Brother from another mother, maybe.
Receiver Reggie Wayne played 14 seasons in the NFL, all 14 with the Colts. Borderline Hall of Famer, over 1,000 catches, 82 touchdowns. He is a big Jim Irsay fan. The Colts owner passed away last week, of course. And Reggie Wayne thinks the young players on the team need to educate themselves about Irsay. Quote, I told the receivers, a lot of y'all don't really know him, but he would have done anything for anybody. He would have given the clothes off his back. Y'all got to push your asses for him. He would have done that for y'all. Bob, there has been a lot written, a lot said about Irsay over the years, but it sounds like the players loved him.
All of his former players, you hear talk about him, speak very positively about the type of compassion and what he would do for guys that gave a lot to the organization. And to me, when you ever want to find out what type of a leader someone is, what type of person they are, you go to the people that are around them the most and the people that they spend a lot of time with. And Irsay, that would be his players, his guys that worked for him but felt like they were partners in everything and that they're always working together. And Pat McAfee has waxed poetic about him. All of these guys have been very passionate about it. And it's been great to ultimately see what they're saying about that guy. And he wasn't a perfect person by any stretch, but he was somebody that had a big heart and cared a lot.
It's interesting, Bobby, that they talk about the way, and Albert talked about this as well, kind of the effect of a changing of the ownership, even though it's staying within the family, how it could have an effect on the culture and within the team and the way the direction they go. And I never looked at Irsay that way from the outside, but it sure does seem like, though, this is a monumental loss for that organization, for that city.
He cared a lot, and he was invested in the city, invested in his team. Like I said, he wasn't without flaws as a human, but he was, I think, deep down in his soul, a good human.
The impact he had on the culture in Indianapolis, is it similar to what, I know success levels are different, but like Kraft's influence in New England, Jones' influence in Dallas, because you were in both those situations. Is that something that you felt? I don't know if you felt the same thing in Detroit or not, as far as where it comes down for the owner, where the owner sets kind of the culture. Did you?
Yeah.
Could you tell a difference in Detroit from the ownership side of things versus the influence versus Dallas and New England?
Because of how much people are involved and what their level of I don't want to say like commitment to the team, but just how hands-on they are with it, and then what type of people they are. I would say this about the forwards: they cared a lot about everybody. They're very loyal people as well, and loyal to the city. You know, Jerry was around a lot. Kraft was around a lot, and I wasn't in New England all that long. You know, Jerry was seen and liked to be seen, but I think there will be similar things said about Kraft when he passes.
All right, that's it for our quick hitters. Thank you, Shark. Well done as always. Paul Skeens, we mentioned him, one of the best pitchers in baseball. Ellie De La Cruz, among the best position players in baseball. Are they destined for bigger markets? We'll talk about that next. Morning Juice.
You know a thing or two about the moments in life that matter. You've seized those moments to embrace joy, accomplish great things, and build meaningful relationships. Is it time now to sit back and reflect on a life well lived? Maybe. Or maybe there's more to be done. Maybe this is the most important moment you've encountered yet. By volunteering with AmeriCorps Seniors, you can seize the moment, lend a hand, and get back more than you give. We connect you to local volunteer organizations with opportunities that fit your schedule and match your interests. Through AmeriCorps Seniors, you can support people in times of need and make your community stronger. You can become a companion to your older neighbors, brightening their days with friendship. You can even become a mentor for young people, serving as a role model and enriching their lives. Are you ready to seize your moment? Visit AmeriCorps.gov/yourmoment and get started today.
Hey Max, you look absolutely dashing in that purple tie. Ready to harness the world?
You bet, Daisy. I'm ready as I'll ever be. And might I say, your purple tie really pops with your vest.
Thanks. I almost went with a cape, but didn't want to come across as pretentious.
Nonsense. Anyone in our line of work should rock a cape.
You might be onto something, Max.
Phew, so here we go. First day on the job. You've got this, right?
Right. Don't forget, we both graduated from Dogs Inc. with honors.
Which means I can guide my human around a busy city with ease.
And I can give my human a restful night.
I hope my human is kind and loving.
And I hope mine likes wet kisses and zoomies.
Ready to make a difference?
Born ready. Let's go.
Discover how extraordinary dogs like Daisy and Max change lives at no cost to the recipients. Visit dogsinc.org.
I'm a wife and the mother of 2 kids, and I've got a good job.
Bye, Mom. See you, Mom.
A pretty important job. Because of my family and my job, I really care about this neighborhood. It's a good neighborhood. Yes, there's some crime. And when I drive to work, like now, I realize that some people here don't trust the police. So the police should be reaching out to this community, and this community should reach out to the police. That's the way to make this a safer place. And when I get to work in the precinct house and put on my uniform, I can tell you as a police officer that this department is reaching out to the community, and the community is doing its part. We're building partnerships. This should be happening everywhere. This is how we can all be safer. Get involved. Start the conversation.
Start the conversation and help stop crime. To learn the 5 things you can do, go to ncpc.org/prevent violent crime. A message from the National Crime Prevention Council and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Bobby Carpenter, husband, father, Buckeye. Jeff Thitoff, husband, father, idiot. This is Morning Juice.
Morning Juice. Thanks to all the juicers in the chat. We always appreciate that. Bobby with the, everyone talks about Paul Skeens, Ellie De La Cruz, and kind of like when do they give you a Dodger or a Yankee or play for Boston or whatever. And I believe that's one of the big problems in baseball when a lot of these smaller market teams are no more than minor league teams that are feeding the bigger ones. And we don't have that in other sports because of the way they've set up their the caps and the structures and the guaranteed money and all the things like that they have.
You want a lesson, an economics lesson?
Oh, please, Bobby. Any lesson you give me.
I just deleted something on my email, and I didn't want to.
Doggone it. I hate when that happens.
I just hit it. I wasn't paying. I thought it had moved. It hadn't. Now I got to dig through my trash and try to figure that out. So I took, if my memory serves me correct, I believe it was, I have to look at my transcript, but I believe it was Economics 583. The
Okay.
economics of sports at Ohio State.
Okay.
And how sports leagues operate. And it was the first actual class, or it was the first time I had ever heard of this. It was my junior year, I think. Yeah, because I was dating Court. I think I took that my junior year, maybe my sophomore. Either way, it was the first time I'd ever heard starting position on a football field, and based upon historical percentages of scoring and what happens with that, assigning point values to drive start average, your drive start position, and how if you're inside your own 20, it's a negative because the odds of you scoring become very small, and the odds of you either having a turnover that ends up in the end zone or a punt that's at the 50 that they then score off of. And they had this whole complicated process and everything. So, you know, that was all a part of it. But one of the other things is they say as we were talking, in normal business, the ultimate goal of a company is to maximize profits, you know, through maximizing revenue, eliminate expenses, and to have the greatest market share, you know, and be the best, obviously, in your business, in your field. Where, like, that's true in the NFL, but there's also the game theory of, and the guy pointed out, he's like, if you're the Harlem Globetrotters and you win every game and you don't have a worthy adversary, the competitive imbalance happens and you're no longer valuable because you have nobody to play against that's any good. And so that's why our professor pointed out, you know, he's like, you look at the NFL, reverse order drafting, salary caps, comp picks when guys leave, all of these different things that they put in place to help make sure there's parity within the league, ensuring the fact that Buffalo and Green Bay are just as viable as New York and Los Angeles or San Francisco or whatever.
Right.
And you don't have those things in some of the others. You don't have that in baseball at all.
Sure.
They have some sort of luxury tax, some different things. But also with that, you have the revenue sharing to make sure the revenue's split. Now obviously it's not all of it is split with the NFL owners. And now you've seen things in the NBA where they can pay guys more, and if you stay at your certain club, you can get more and different things like that. Guaranteed. And so those things matter. And because of that, you're seeing Oklahoma City and Indianapolis, or in Indiana, most likely be the finals representatives, assuming the Pacers can finish off the Knicks. And that's a good thing for the sport at large. But when you've just crammed down on us that stars matter in big cities all the time, then you start to lose some of that. But if you're live in Indiana or you live in Oklahoma and you're fans of those teams and you believe that you never have a viable shot of winning a title, I mean, at some point you're going to begin to lose generations of fans. And while some of those people may gravitate towards the larger markets, you're not going to have a healthy sport.
And I think basketball's also done a better job of marketing the individual and the stars. So if they do change teams, I think you'll see fans follow that player versus follow that team. More so in that.
And that's how they've changed it. And the NBA is marketing players. Yep. They market stars now. I'm not a fan of a team. I'm a fan of a player, which is good to a certain extent, but then you also don't have that loyalty within the organization. And so when players move, then it becomes very transient with your allegiances, and you lose whole entire fan bases.
I think one of the other things that makes football and basketball more popular as well, the gambling aspect, football, the once a week and all that stuff, that's a huge part of it too. But I mean, Shark, you mentioned with we talked about the complete games and the way pitching has changed. There are no untouchable records. I shouldn't say no. That's the big statement, Bobby. You always get on me for saying that. There are not many untouchable records in football and basketball. As far as we just saw LeBron break career points. We see guys break career rebound, career assists, whatever. You see these guys that can do these things. And in football, there's the career touchdown passes, rushing touchdowns, whatever. All these different things that are attainable. Baseball's records, by and large, so many of the career records and even single-season records are not attainable. You'll never see the 511 wins by a pitcher again, or the number of complete games, number of innings, number of strikeouts thrown. No one's going to challenge, I don't believe, the steroids-infused Bonds home run record, career record. Those things are not going to be touched. And I think that also hurts baseball because we don't, people will tune in, kind of casual fans or once in a while kind of fans will tune in for record-setting events in football and basketball.
Yeah.
We don't have that in baseball. Baseball doesn't have that where you look at someone and say, this guy, we're not going to have another pitcher get 300 wins.
That's true.
We're not. So it's not going to be really like to watch this guy break Nolan Ryan's single-season strikeout record. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, the single-season home run record that we just watched.
The record one, yes, but no one's going to. I'm saying, though, by and large, though, there's only a couple of things in baseball that have that, whereas in football and basketball, there's a lot more that you can have career records set, single-season records set.
Well, I think some of the career records being set in basketball are a function of the fact that you're watching LeBron James at the end of his career.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I mean, that's part of why you're seeing those career records set. Football was the fact that you're watching Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees at the end. I don't think there's going to be any more of those career records set in football for a while.
So Brady's got the touchdown passes, I believe, correct? I think he's got to have the touchdown pass record. I don't know if Brees has yards or Brady has yards.
I think Brady has them all now.
He has them all now.
Yep.
But if I told you that Mahomes could break them, depending on how long he plays. Mahomes could break those records. I think that's...
Yeah, but when is that going to happen?
It won't happen for a while. No, I'm with you. But I'm saying, though...
there's a chance that you might be dead before that happens.
You're losing money if you bet on that one. You got to bet on me to live past that if you want to make any coin on that one. Gerb would tell you that. But I'm just saying, though, Bobby... The
head-to-head matchups, that's where Gerb does his best.
They are... But single-season ones are even attainable, though. Like in football now, in basketball, single-season records are attainable. Now, granted, some of the rebounding ones like Chamberlain and Russell threw out there are not going to go down anytime soon. But I'm saying like in, what Marino still, but Brady's got the record, or is it Peyton? Who's got the 50 touchdown passes? Is that Manning?
Yes, Manning had the single
Broncos,
season.
right?
That was his first or second year with Denver, I believe.
Right. So that's recently. That could still go down. In fact, they're also going to play 18 games here before long, and guys are throwing the ball more now than ever. So I don't know. Do you think, Bobby, that affects baseball at all, or am I overplaying that?
No, I think the fact that it's just a slow game, and your best pitcher is in Pittsburgh, who has a 4-5 record with a 2.15 ERA. He's your young star. He's got a super attractive, famous young girlfriend. He was a star coming in. He's a great model human being, and they don't market him enough, and he's on a team that doesn't care about winning. So, yeah, that's the problem.
I wonder if baseball went to more of the NBA model, if that could. And not that because baseball, the players never would agree to a kind of cap. But if...
I think they would agree to a cap if here's the thing in the NFL. This is why the players agreed to the cap. And the owners, I think, probably pushed it because you have to spend 90% of the salary cap.
Right.
And so while it may cap some teams at the highest, it's going to force teams at the bottom to spend more. Now, the owners have to agree to share the revenue amongst them,
right?
But you have more dollars that are flooding into the market. And so that's why the Jaguars and the Bills and all these other teams, they have to spend 90% of the cash on the salary cap over a 3-year period.
I
probably didn't know that, did you, Thidoff?
No, I knew that. I knew there was a floor. I knew there was a floor and there was a ceiling. I know
90%.
I didn't know the floor was 90%. I knew there was a floor. Okay.
They pushed it in the last CBA because they're like, if you want to get some money back, that's fine. But the other teams are not going to sandbag and not spend their dollars.
I think the NHL also has a floor, too, on theirs.
You should have a floor. If you're sharing money, I'm not sharing money with you not to spend it.
Right.
I'm sharing money with you, as I pointed out in my economics 583 class, I'm sharing money with you so you will be good, so we have a viable competitive product that people want to see.
I wonder if baseball players will ever wise up to that and realize that maybe a cap is not the worst thing.
It's not going to be the players. It's getting the owners to agree to it on the other side.
You think that? So you think the players would agree to a cap of some sort like that?
I think that they would.
Yeah.
Because here's it's just math.
Right.
So if I tell you that there's 30 Major League Baseball teams, and there might be 5 of them that are spending, $300 million?
Okay.
And I don't know, the rest are spending a third of that on average. Let's say $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could tell you that you can't spend $300 anymore, but every team has to spend between $200 and $250, how does that sound? There's more money out there.
Sure.
And everybody's going to get paid more. So that would be a win.
I would think players are counting on, though, people recklessly spending like the Dodgers, though, and the Yankees. They're counting on more teams doing that. And
there's only 5 teams that do that, though.
Dodgers, Mets, Red Sox,
Yankees, maybe Giants, maybe Angels.
Angels, yes, they spent foolishly out
but
there. The Cubs are, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Cubs can't have, but there's no more than 6. And at any given point in time, it's more like 4 or 5. Because then they spend all that money and realize they still suck, and then they sell off their best players.
And I don't know if baseball ever even fully recovered from the '94 strike. Still, I don't know if the fans.
Well, they never were going to recover from that. You
From
drove
that
away
one.
a generation of fans.
Yeah,
and then that's why and I'll get into this with Shark till the end of time. That's why all the players and everybody was complicit in covering up steroids and allowing it to happen.
because that's what brought fans back.
That's
was
the
the
only reason
McGuire
I was watching in '98
Sosa.
or whenever that was.
Yeah, it was 98. It was, I think. Yeah, 98 was a great home run
I used
chase.
to pick up the USA Today, and they'd have the home runs on the side.
Totals on that one.
Yeah.
Boy, are you old?
God, tell about dating yourself, Bobby.
USA Today.
Well, my dad would read it, and then he'd let me take a look at it afterwards.
That's how big of a sports geek I was that me and a buddy cut school the day the USA Today came out to read the USA Today.
Yeah, it was the first national,
all
sports.
color.
Yeah, all color was
the
great.
big box scores, they had all those things there. It was the best thing since the National. Actually, the National was after that, wasn't it? National was after USA Today.
Yep. By the way, Tom Brady, 649 touchdown passes.
Okay.
Drew Brees, 571. So he's 78 behind.
Okay.
Among active quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, 503. So he ain't catching
No,
Brady.
he's not
That's my
doing it.
point.
You've got
Rodgers lost 3 years.
Stafford at 377. So he's barely halfway. And then next would be Russell Wilson has 350. So if that record's broken, it's going to take a while.
What's Mahomes at? Do you have that?
2.
And how many years did he play? He played 8
I don't
years?
have Mahomes. They've got the top 25 on this list, and
Okay.
Tony Romo is 25th at 248. Mahomes doesn't have.
So he
more
doesn't
than
have
that.
250.
Okay, so Romo's 25th, you said?
Yeah.
And how many years did he really play? Not that many.
Well, he played 05 to
But
2016.
he didn't start till halfway through
Right,
6, and he
yeah.
didn't play in 16. So he played a decade.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying that's a pretty good number though. For I'm surprised Romo's 25th. What I'm saying because I didn't think that he played long enough to crack that top 25.
Don't forget Andy Dalton. He's 23rd at 253.
The Red Rifle.
The Red Rifle. Manning had 55 touchdown passes.
Okay.
Brady
Had 50
and
with Moss.
Mahomes each had 50 in a season.
Brady's was the year with Moss, right? I think in New England.
2007.
Yeah, the 1 year with Moss. Well, you talk about a guy who I can't with how good Moss was to not have a ring.
There's 22 guys that start and another 20 that play. It's being a great individual player. I mean, that only gets you so far. There's a lot of great
It got
players.
him to the end, but they couldn't finish off the perfect season.
He was in the Super Bowl with the Niners then too. Later, he was that hardball Super Bowl.
Moss?
I think
Is
he was
that
on,
right?
I think he was on that team.
God, I don't
or maybe
remember
he
him
didn't
with the
get
49ers.
He went there for 1 year at the end, 1 or 2 years. And I don't know if that was the year that they made it to the Super Bowl or they were just in the NFC Championship, but he was close again. He was close to the Vikings.
Yeah, with the
yeah.
Gary Anderson.
Randy Moss arguably played on the best 2 offensive seasons in the history of the NFL.
That Vikings team was special.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, Robert Smith ran out of bounds and they
Gary Anderson
missed a field goal.
Missed his only field goal missed the whole season was that game. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The whole season was what he missed.
Hopefully Rothman's listening to this.
You're right, Bob. Moss played, obviously, in Minnesota for 7 years. 2 years in Oakland. 1, 2, 3, 4. Parts of 4 with New England.
Went back to Minnesota.
Went back to Minnesota, then Tennessee.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
For 8 games. And then with San Francisco, his final year, 2012, 28 catches, 434 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I don't even remember that. I don't remember.
I don't remember San Francisco. I don't
because
remember
it wasn't very memorable. He was there and he was still good, but he wasn't Randy Moss good anymore.
Yeah, he averaged 15 and a half yards a catch. In
Oh,
that
yeah,
final
he would
season,
still get some.
but only 28 catches in 16 games. Still, that I don't know where I was in 2012. I don't remember that.
Well, it's the drugs talking.
That's the drugs.
But in 2007, he had 23 touchdowns for the Patriots in the regular season.
We played him then. I never played that 98 Vikings team.
Right.
But I have to imagine it was about the same as that when they had, Chris Carter and, Jake Reed.
Right.
I mean, because they had Moss and they had Stallworth on the other side. They had Welker in the slot. Who was the tight? They had two tight ends. They ran like two different offenses when they were in there. And, I can't think of their tight ends now. One of them just retired. Ben. They're not just retired. I mean, retired like 5 years ago. But they had a guy that came in from Jacksonville. Who was the good tight end from Jacksonville?
You mean Ben Watson?
Ben Watson.
Okay.
And then the
former Cleveland Brown.
Yep. And then the other tight end was Penn State.
Kyle Brady.
Kyle Brady from Penn State. And so when Brady was in, they used him a lot for blocking. And it was like max up, do all this. And then they'd run it too. And then they had, they'd put in Ben. And he was more of a receiving threat. But like Stallworth was like the take the top off guy, just run deep. And then they would just run Welker on they call them like jerk routes or underneath routes sitting in the zone. And then you have Randy. So like there was only so many defenders you could double with. And then people started trying to say, well, they're just going to pass all the time. They'd get like 2-3 techniques. And that was when Tom would go up and it would be 1st and 10. And they'd have like a big pass rush look in, light defensive guys. Tom would go up and they call it goose in the center, just hit him, and then give a silent count. And they would just run a sneak for 5 yards. Because like everybody was set to like defend the pass. There was no one over the center. And so he would just get 5 yards. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. How do you defend this?
Well, that year was really...
We were 13-3 and they beat us by like 17 points at home.
That was an anomaly because as great as Tom Brady was, the Patriots didn't have a lot of top 5 offensive teams in the league.
Ironically, their best offensive teams never won.
Well, that 07 had to be
the number one
best,
offensive. Yeah.
But, it's which just shows you the greatness of that team because they didn't have great offenses like we think of as great offenses. But, they always had the slot receiver. They always Brady always talked about he didn't face a lot of 3rd and 14s. They were always pushing the ball forward.
Coming next, we'll tell you who's got us juiced. Morning Juice.
Around the world, Children International and friends like you are giving children in poverty a chance to grow and thrive, to be healthy, to succeed in school, and achieve great things. How do we do it? In the best way possible, by helping ensure access to healthcare, nutrition, and educational opportunities. And most importantly, by empowering youths and their families to get out of poverty and into employment through life skills, computer, and job training. The very tools they need to break the cycle of poverty and build futures full of promise. Because every child deserves a chance to realize their full and best potential. Learn more about how Children International is empowering children and families by going to children.org today. That's children.org.
Teachers are dynamic leaders, shaping a new generation. They bring a variety of perspectives from diverse backgrounds, innovating how they teach to prepare students for our fast-changing world. Achieving this takes skill and expertise. They're tireless explorers, creatively discovering a universe of solutions, telling stories, experimenting, inspiring, mentoring, connecting cultures, and connecting with each other, leading by example. Experience the unique joy of helping students thrive. Teaching is a journey that shapes lives. Are you ready to begin? Explore teaching at teach.org, a campaign supported by the U.S. Department of Education, Teach.org, and 1 million teachers of color.
Once there was a man who couldn't stand.
A mom who couldn't wait.
A scientific community that said it couldn't be done.
And then you.
And then I.
And then we.
Brought neuromuscular disease into screaming color with the Muscular Dystrophy Association.
For 75 years, our voices have thundered through the halls of Congress.
We've willed the impossible into existence.
We've pushed the science,
raised the funds,
shifted the narrative,
and transformed the reality of life with neuromuscular diseases.
For 75 years, we've built communities together.
Established the field of neuromuscular medicine,
and made it thrive.
Call that a legacy.
Call it impact.
Call it momentum.
Just call it ours.
Because it's the generations of community heroes that give MDA the strength we have today.
And until neuromuscular disease is a thing of the past, you couldn't stop us if you tried.
Join us and celebrate 75 years of breakthroughs at MDA75.org.
We built a brand new studio just for Bobby, and Tito has already ruined it just by being here. I'm pregnant. This is Morning Juice.
Bobby, I enjoy doing a show with you, but I want to tell you.
Everything that comes before but doesn't matter then.
You, with your breakdown like that, when you break things down like that, when the NFL is your most knowledgeable topic, I got all that. I'm just saying, when you break something down like that, it is very impressive, your perspective on that, because you lived it and you saw it, and being able to talk, like even to the break, though, when talking about some of the things that, Patriots would do and Tom would do and things like that, all of those kinds of things. I am very impressed when you do that. And I'm glad we're in a format now where you can kind of stretch your legs on things like that. We're not bound by a clock so much.
Bob.
Less bondage?
Brown noser.
No.
Okay. Listen, there's no one else that I can get to do this, so don't worry. I don't think you have to worry about me firing you.
No, I don't. I'm not really sure if that's what I was hoping to get in return, but that's okay.
If you're looking for an attaboy.
No, I'm being honest with you, Bobby. I'm telling you, there are that I enjoy doing when things like that happen kind of organically. That was not on the show sheet for us to get that deep into football, but I'm glad that it took that turn. I appreciate it. All right. That's got me juiced. I guess I stole my own thunder.
What's got you juiced?
Sponsored by Billiards Plus. Find your next grill and everything you need for the master griller. Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
All right. I don't know. Thursday, so Shark, I guess, Schlegs. What are you going to do? What are we doing first here?
Let's go with our daily Schlegalism.
All right, let's do that.
I had longer sideburns and a gut was very evident, but I also thought I looked very sexy. And God bless Steph for hanging out with me, because then that transformed into my Jets picture, which looked like a caveman with a bowling ball for a skull, 20-inch neck and long hair. And I'm not going to lie to you, I looked disgusting. Though at that time I thought I looked very good. I did not.
You did not.
Who looked more like Meatloaf or Anthony Schlegel in that picture?
I mean, he was doing his best Meatloaf impersonation. Thankfully, he lost some weight, so he doesn't suffer the same fate as Meatloaf, an untimely early demise.
And his hygiene got better, too.
When you're heavier, you just smell more. I told Schlegs, you used to stink, dude. It was just tough to wash all those crevasses.
What has me juiced? Well, I'll tell you. A week ago, I was looking at the Guardians schedule.
Thinking how many games are going to be go in July?
Toughest 10-game stretch of the season. You're playing 4 games against the Detroit Tigers, who have the best record in baseball, then 3 against the Dodgers, who are defending World Series champions, and then 3 against the Yankees, who are defending American League champions.
Just got done playing the Reds.
I'm thinking 2-8. Gosh, can we squeak 2 wins out of this? Well, so far, we're 7 games into that 10-game stretch, and they're 4-3. They beat the Tigers 3 times. They lost the first 2 to the Dodgers, and just when it looked like they were going to get swept yesterday, they're down 4-2 in the 8th. Nolan Jones has a 2-run single to tie the game, and then our man, Angel, don't call me Angel Martinez, comes up with 2 men on. Tom Hamilton, WTAM.
I had long.
Sorry.
The Panthers. Swung on, drill, deep left field, away, back and goal. Angel Martinez, a 3-run bullet to the bleachers and left. And the Guardians lead it 7-4 on a 5-run 8th inning.
Oh, that was fantastic. You got goosebumps over there, Tito? No?
I don't think I do on that one.
Jose Ramirez, career-high 21-game hitting streak. He also moved into 8th place on the Tribe's all-time hits list. He just keeps moving up the chart.
How many touchdown passes?
They're going to be building a statue for Jose Ramirez when it's all said and done, and they should. Looking forward to after this show, because after doing some work, I'm going to head up to the Memorial. And, boy, gone are the days when you had 120 in the field and you had afternoon tee times and morning tee times. front nine back. Now it's, the premier event, 72 golfers. They're going out in twosomes instead of threesomes, and it's no morning and afternoon now. We start at 7:50. We start in 1 minute from now, first tee time. I'm hoping to get up there by 10:05 to see Jordan Spieth, Xander Schauffele, and they're followed by Victor Hovland and Ludwig Oberg. So I'll be walking the course with those boys today.
Bobby, did you not get enough sleep last night? Because you should have asked Shark right then. That's your perfect opportunity to say, Shark, do you prefer the twosomes or threesomes? That's where that's the Bobby Carpenter joke.
I already worked that through with Rothman yesterday.
Did he? Okay,
I apologize. Where I stand on that.
We all know where you stand. We've got the internet.
I'm a one-woman man.
Stands a wrong
Shark
word.
said if you ever want to disappoint two people at the same time, you just have dinner with his parents.
Yes. And charge him for it. Leave them with the bill.
I saw them yesterday, Bob.
How did that bill handoff go?
Got the pillbox figured out.
How did the bill handoff go? Not the pills.
That went okay. Surprisingly, I said to my dad, this landscaping, this mulching looks fantastic. He said, it looks really good, doesn't it?
Better than you.
And I said, yeah, that's amazing what $629.30 will do for you. He said to my mom, honey, write him a check.
Did he ground you?
He did not ground me.
Did you tell him you're retiring from the radio, so I'm retiring from yard work too?
From mulching.
Yes.
My back thanks you. By the way, down in Bowling Green,
Kentucky?
Florida.
Oh.
16-year-old Charlie Woods, Tiger's boy, won the American Junior Golf Association event down there. I think he was 2 under on Monday and then 5 under on Tuesday and 6 under on Wednesday. Finished at 15 under overall and wins. He beat like 4 of the top 5 players in the country.
It'll be awesome if he's really good.
He can't be as good as Tiger.
No.
Why not?
But I said Bobby wouldn't be as good, or Barry wouldn't be as good as Bobby Bonds, and I was wrong about that. Ken Griffey Jr. is not going to be as good as Senior, and look what happened there. So maybe he will be. I doubt it.
It's
Bob,
tough.
What has you juiced?
It's big shoes to fill in that. But honestly, his dad probably getting hurt and everything happening is probably the best thing that happened to his career, because you probably look at the last 5 years, the amount of time he's invested in his son as opposed to investing in his own game, seeing his own mortality. We talked about great offenses with the Patriots, and we were talking a little bit about this in the break. The 3 offensive teams over that 18-year period that were their best offensive teams that went to Super Bowls. 2007, they were first in yards, first in points. 2011, third in points, second in yards. 2017, second in points, first in yards. None of those teams won Super Bowls. Those were the 3 best, and those were the 3 that all lost.
They all went to Super Bowls.
All went, and none of them were able to get it done. And so they're all, ironically, the 6 were the teams that were good. 2 of them were pretty good, but the other 4, just really good on both sides of the ball and very good situationally. You mentioned mulching, Sharky. Got a big load of Ohio mulch delivered the other day and got the wheelbarrow out, started working on it the day before. I used to do it all in one day. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat this one bite at a time like an elephant. So now I do a little bit, about an hour here, hour there. And I have my daughter.
So wait a minute. You get the big load dumped in the driveway. You don't get the bags.
No, I used to because it's cheaper. Now it's easier.
And then you take the wheelbarrow.
I shovel it. I've got a wagon. I pull it around. I had my daughter do her nice stretch yesterday along the driveway. My wife had planted a lot of zinnias. And so I don't like mulching around small flowers because it's a pain in the butt. It's nuanced. And I made her do that. And she did a good job of it. So I said, you know what? You're going to do the flower part in the front. It's not a whole lot of mulch. It's just a pain. And ironically, she goes, told my wife, she's like, my back hurts. And she's like, how do you think your dad's back feels? You did like 4 wheelbarrows full. I did 4 wheelbarrows in about 10 minutes. But obviously I'm a little stronger and a little older. But that's got me juiced because it's starting to finally come into shape. We've got to replace about 8 boxwoods that have died. That blight on the boxwoods is terrible right now. But that's got me juiced. And, hey, you know what? Tomorrow, heading out to the Memorial, super excited out there. Going to head out the Nationwide Children's Tent a little bit with some of the great work that they do out there. Got some other friends going to get a chance to see. So always love going out there, getting a chance to talk to some different folks. And then today, I've got a speaking engagement later this afternoon, which, it actually got sent my way via Dom Taberry, put me in contact, and it's the 2025 ONIC Law Enforcement Drug Summit.
Oh.
I was like, what do you want me to talk about with this?
Yes.
I'm like, and they're like, well, talk about leadership, some human development. We're going to be talking a lot about drugs. Let's talk about like some of the positive things in the world and get everybody juiced up. So I've got that today at 12 for lunch. So I'm pretty excited to go over there, get that done. Going to be a longer speech, but I think I'm up for the challenge.
How long a speech is it? Like how?
It's just like a 90-minute deal. Like,
What?
it's a full class.
Come on.
Well, it's a full like all day thing, and I'm one of the keynotes. So we are going to have slides because 90 minutes off cuff that's a lot. I'm not that smart to be able to remember that many things. So I put together a little slide deck, and hopefully it'll be good, entertaining. I'll probably have to have some coffee before to make sure I've got enough energy to get it done. And then after that, it's going to be home sailing here into the weekend, some more grad parties and some memorial fun on Friday. So that has me juiced. That off. What's got you juiced, sir?
The 5th grade clap out today. My daughter making the transit. Careful, my daughter.
Jimmy Dugan talked about a clap situation.
My daughter,
kind of clap.
My daughter moving on to middle school. Charlotte's last day of 5th grade. It's a half day. I don't know why they had school, Bobby, this week.
It's the 2.5 days after Memorial Day,
Right.
Shark. If you want to, now if you're in high school, my oldest son, that's finals.
Yeah.
But for like K through 8. It's hee-haw time.
You know what
Movie
Tuesday was?
days.
Yeah, Tuesday was, they called Slouch Day.
Yeah, Tuesday's gone. That's what Tuesday was.
Tuesday was
Leonard
Slouch
Skinner.
Day. She wore pajamas into school. They
What?
watched movies and
Those
ate
are your
popcorn.
tax dollars at work right there,
That
Shark.
was it. Was called Slouch Day.
Yeah.
What movies?
They watched, I think, Mulan. I think she said that a couple movies like that. I can't remember what they watched was, but they watched Mulan. I think
I think Basic Instinct was one of them.
Might have been one of them. I'm not sure.
Casino.
Tropic Thunder
One
to
of
really
those.
round out their viewing pleasure.
So anyway, I got to be careful on but it's clapping. Hopefully, I'm not gonna cry. I probably will. I'll get a little bit emotional because I also cry thinking I've still got 3 more years of already in elementary school, and I've got friends that are empty nesters now, and how long it will be. I'll never get to enjoy an empty nest.
Exactly.
I
'cause
never will.
You'll die in that nest.
Right. I'll
Probably going to have 3 more kids.
Just shut your mouth, Shark. I will. Yeah. I'll be on the mantle while Heather has an empty nest.
Think she'll taxidermy you?
Oh, dude, that hole she's digging out back for the last few years. I think I'm going right into the ground that
You're going
day.
to go right over the mantle.
If she calls you, Bobby, and says, I need your help with the project, that's what it's like. Drag Jeff out to the back.
I talked to Jan. That's my retirement gift to you. I've pre-purchased.
Thank you.
I said, don't worry about the burial plot. I've pre-purchased a taxidermy package for Shark.
My gosh.
And we can bring him in here after
Yes.
he passes and just stand
Have
over
him
in the
right
corner.
there. Yes, let's do something
They
like
can
that.
come visit you anytime.
Let's do that. That's a good idea. Thanks much for tuning in today. We appreciate that. Love the chat as always. We're back tomorrow. Morning Juice.
You know what hope is? Hope is action. Carving a path forward, even when it's hard.
And kids who still know how to dream. They're the best pathfinders of all.
So at Child Fund, hope means helping millions of children living in poverty worldwide to grow up healthy, educated, skilled, and so all those good things can come true for them, safe.
And that means safe at home, safe at school, and safe online.
Hope means walking this path together, all of us. Because when we work together, we can do so much more.
That's right. Hope includes you.
Child Fund, because we need each other.
To learn how Child Fund works with children in 23 countries to help them achieve their full potential, visit childfund.org. That's childfund.org.
It's been a real journey since 2014 when I first had my injury. I realized that my home was just not working for me and that it was time to ask for help. Homes for Our Troops is really giving me my life back. The shower allows me to go in and turn around with my chair, pull down storage racks, automated door systems, hours of my morning given back to me. Adaptive sports are a huge part of my life, a huge part of my healing journey as well. Homes for Our Troops helped with making sure that I had a home gym so that I can continue to train. This past year, I was able to host Thanksgiving in my home. And it was the first time I was able to have my whole family in one place and I was able to contribute to the meal. There are a lot more veterans in need and Homes for Our Troops is going to be there to help them too.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives. Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
I'm Shanola Hampton. Every day, millions of people face hunger. Today, I will share with you some of their experiences. I'm stuck between paying for medications or paying for food. John from Maine. After paying my bills, I can buy groceries. It's sad to say, food comes last. Alice from Oregon. I thought pantries were for less fortunate people, but anybody could be less fortunate in a day or even a second. Claire from Virginia. The Feeding America network of food banks helps provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. No one should have to worry where their next meal will come from. Together, we can end hunger. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.